Hello, my name is DavidK, and this is a presentation for my Macbeth final. And first of all, before we start my presentation, I would like everyone to stretch. And yeah, so the title is Prognostication is Skepticism. So, does anyone know what prognostication is? Prognostication is a forewarning, actually. It's like a prediction or prophecy. And now, my topic and my thesis for this whole presentation or an essay was the prophecies and the predictions that were led by the three witches brings fear and skepticism towards the people in the play or the characters in the play. Now, this predictions itself is a tool used by the witches to enforce or more like show fear and skepticism to these characters such as Macbeth and Lady Macbeth as seen in later of the sides. So the first slide is strong obsession. Now, if we look at the quote above, the greatest is behind. This was stated by Macbeth after he heard the witch's prophecy, after he heard from the king's advisors, Ross and Angus, that he would be the Thane of Cawdor. Now, the greatest is behind it. If we take a look at this quote and break it down, it shows kind of how much Macbeth is obsessed with it. The way it was stated is he went aside and stated this quote, which means in subtext that Macbeth is actually kind of more like attracted to the prophecy now. He is attracted to the predictions and the prognostication brought by the three witches. That's the reason this slide is called Strong Obsession, and the picture depicts it by a hand trying to grab that light, trying to grab that power that Macbeth, which is exactly what Macbeth wanted. Now, uncontrollable skepticism. Now, this is one of the actually, before I go on to this, strong obsession was one of the pathways. It was actually a leading catalyst that led to the skepticism and fear. So, strong obsession is not an effective prognostication. It's more like a process. Now, one of the effects of, as I stated before, my thesis is uncontrollable skepticism. Now, the picture itself shows the mask of tragedy and comedy, which is showing the two different sides or two different viewpoints intertwined in one mask or one entity. This shows skepticism, and because skepticism is more like the doubt between two ideals, the doubt between like a positive ideal and negative ideal, and we can see that in the play as Macbeth says cannot be ill, cannot be good after he hears the witch's prophecy. Cannot be ill. That shows that, oh, this cannot be actually good, but then, back that, cannot be ill, which means it can be good, but cannot be good, which means it's gonna be bad. And Macbeth shows this by shows skepticism by switching between these two ideals, switching between these two feelings and attitudes toward the prophecies. And this is why I thought that the characters itself portrayed uncontrollable skepticism as the play goes on further as Lady Macbeth shows madness. And then, as we go on in the play, we see that Macbeth states this sentence: "Thence to be wrenched with a lineal hand," and this kind of shows blind fear that Macbeth has. Like Macbeth does not want to try and show fear by himself, but actually Macbeth wants to hide it, but then in turn it actually just shows. And Macbeth states this quote because after hearing the prophecy that the Bengal sons shall be kings, Macbeth was really afraid because during that century of the history, during the 17th century, people were afraid that the kings were actually afraid of not being able to have their own sons to become kings. Now, this is an important point because if this quote wasn't stated, then there wasn't any point for me to put fear, to say that prognostication leads to fear. But as Macbeth states this quote by just accidentally, which I think it is, it kind of shows how the witch's predictions brought fear amongst Macbeth that if the prophecy isn't reached, or the prophecy, if it's real, then that's bad towards him, then he doesn't want that. It's actually a person's obsession that they don't want bad things to happen to them because of a prophecy. And in the end, as an effect, between these two, skepticism and fear, it leads people to insanity. And we could see that by Lady Macbeth saying, "The Thane of Fife had a wife, where is she now?" And it was during when Lady Macbeth was with the gentleman and doctor during the play. And this kind of shows Lady Macbeth's madness. She becomes really crazy after doing the deeds the prophecy says. She followed it. She followed it, and in turn had fear and skepticism, as like she thought people might know of her actions, and that led her to insanity. That led her to think that her hands were bloody, but instead, in reality, it wasn't. And we could see as further in the play, Macbeth also becomes insane as he thinks that the tree at Burnham would, or which means like the army, like he thought it was actually the tree of Burnham will come to him, not the army will come to him. He didn't take it as metaphorically. So it kind of shows how Macbeth was too obsessed with the idea and he was afraid of the prophecies and he was kind of insane after that. So in the end, prognostication leads to skepticism and fear. Because as we see the characters progress in the novel, the play itself, we could see them going crazy, going afraid, going doubtful, etc., etc., etc. So that kind of shows that that kind of proves my thesis of how predictions and forewarnings lead to skepticism and fear. Thank you.